Religious extremists don't believe in plurality or inclusion, but only in their own superiority and privilege. So in the 1950s, they changed our national motto from the unifying phrase "E pluribus unum" to an exclusionary proclamation of religious belief, and then forced atheist children to chant that mantra ever since. They don't want a democratic republic of we the people. They want an authoritarian regime of forced conformity, restricting even our most intimate liberties, what we think, and even who we are. To achieve that goal, they promote American exceptionalism, which is the lie that the U.S. is blessed and will remain so only as long as we appease the Christian version of God, even when that means attacking unbelievers and queer folk, which our increasingly awful state is already doing. In order to sell the first lie, they need to couch it in another lie, that the U.S. was founded as a Christian nation, which is demonstrably factually false even according to the founders themselves, and the lie that our laws were based on Moses, who experts now say never existed. The First Amendment contradicts the First Commandment because the founders wanted to be the polar opposite of the Sharia-like law of Moses. But if the Ten Commandments were prominently displayed in every classroom, then the kids would believe that lie. That's why religious conservatives want this. They are relentlessly trying to rewrite history to undermine our pioneer example of a secular nation, the only form of governance that can provide religious freedom. Our model has become the envy of the Western world and is now emulated by older countries that were once the oppressive theocracies that our forefathers escaped and that Christian nationalists now want to drag us back to. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick said this bill would promote religious freedom, which of course it won't. It will have the opposite effect, which is the intended effect, to promote Christianity to a privileged position. This bill is an unconstitutional establishment of religion by design. That is the whole point of it, and the only possible purpose behind it, so it must not pass.
All right, members, excuse me, any questions for this witness? All right, we appreciate you being here. Chair calls Charles Cruz.
Good morning, my beauties and bees. It is I, your host, Miss Bumblebee, and we are live from the Hive. It is now 9:38 with all my intros, including the Dick fight, which started off with that Connie Francis song again, which I apologize for, doing all this stuff, got all these moving pieces, everything moving around. So thank you so much for sticking with me. I got 17 of y'all watching this morning, too. That's amazing. Before I do anything else, I want to plug Maya's thing later today because she's going to be on Black Non-Believers Incorporated, and I want to make sure that we all know about that because that's at noon today. I'll probably still be going a little bit after noon. Usually I go till about 12:30, but I might try to see if I can't pinch it off early so that we can get over there and kind of do a raid. So let me actually I'll pin it later, closer to the time that we're gonna be actually doing it. But good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me again. Happy birthday, Q, Ginger Nation. So happy birthday, 26, to be 26 again. Oh my gosh, I would love to go back and change some things about the direction my life took when I was 26. Make good decisions, Q. I know you try to. So yeah, I just the whole world's ahead of you. It's kind of beautiful. But happy birthday. I hope it's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, I got Maya's thing. She's actually got two things later today. Maya's a busy girl today, so she might not even be making it in this morning to say hi. So if she doesn't, that's fine. But yeah, we're gonna raid over there anyway, regardless, because it's awesome that she's getting some attention. Her channel's growing. She hit 450. So yeah. Anyhow, yeah. Let me see who have we got in here. We got a good base crowd of people. We got Greg Hartwick, and we got Beck, and we have this mad computer scientist. Is that a new name for somebody I know already? Spooky's here. Good morning, Spooky. Ring, of course, always rolling the initiative, getting in here early. Dave's here. Good morning, Dave. Good people, and of course, Q and Aunt Jers in the house. Bugbot out here. Did Bugbot sting anybody yet? Nope. I'm gonna get Bugbot stinging. Y'all can swat it too if you want. Bugbot doesn't have. As far as a list of commands, I think that I'm going to make like a crawl that goes over my intro scroll that gives you some different commands for Bugbot. So look, we'll probably that may even start soon. As far as the debate channel, Friday night sci-fi. Yes, we are going to be doing debates. Right now I'm talking to one of the producers from Creation Research, which is Indiana Joe, that you've probably seen on Standing for Truth. I've been talking to one of the producers over there, trying to get something set up. I believe what I'm trying to go for is Joe and Grayson, but depending on the time, I may have to flip it if Grayson can't do it. Mark Reed would probably definitely be willing to step in. I'm shooting for the 19th to be the premiere, but it might be the 26th. I would like to get something out before the end of January, just to start this. If it's just a once a month debate, that's fine. I just want to be doing something on that channel and having it. Debating on what to have for breakfast. Well, I do want to do just regular old debates too about different topics. Though, like I've mentioned that Bigfoot topics and stuff like that are definitely going to be welcome on the platform. Any topic you want to debate about that has some science basis where we can actually look at the evidence. That's the goal. I want this to be an evidence-based debate channel. But yeah, good morning, everybody. And I don't want to hold things up too much longer because, like I said, I want to try to keep today's show a little bit tighter. So I am going to pop right over to CryptoCorner, and while you all watch the intro, I need to refresh my coffee already. I am going pretty good though. I'm going a mile a minute this morning. So yeah, I will see you guys in CryptoCorner in just a minute. Hello, and welcome once again to Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee, and thank you so much for joining us this evening for another excellent installment of Cryptic Corner. This is going to be a weird one, okay? It's going to be a weird one. So, the topic on the docket today is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, right? Like a tiny little Midwestern town. The town I grew up in has somewhere around between 3,500 and 3,800. I don't know. It kind of fluctuates. So, the little towns around us all had, some different folklore and stuff, whether it was a bog creature or something like that, which is they refer to bog creature. The Missouri monster, the Louisiana, a little town of Louisiana that was about 40 miles south of the town I lived in, had the Momo, the Missouri monster. It was very famous. Dave's from the Midwest too talks about the Grassman from Ohio. So a few different little towns all have these little scattered monster sightings. I always wished I lived in a town that had a monster sighting. But my little town, and I don't live there anymore. I'm happy to tell you the name of it. It's called Palmyra, Missouri, and I told you the name of it because I'm going to pull it out. It's a little tiny town in northern Missouri. Still has a Confederate monument in front of the courthouse. That's how cringy it is. So, just to give you an idea of what this town is. Anyway, this is a small town, and I lived there up until the 2010s, right? But we never had anything. It was made me sad. I could go around to little towns. Then in April of 2012, all that changed. All that changed for my little town because we got our own cryptid. Not a Yeti or Sasquatch, nothing like a chupacabra or anything of that nature. Not a living pterosaur or some kind of phantom night stalker, but a kangaroo. Authorities search for kangaroos said to have been spotted in Palmyra, Missouri. Palmyra police officers and Marion County Sheriff deputies were on the lookout Tuesday for a kangaroo on the loose. The Palmyra Police Department reported to have received a call Tuesday afternoon about a kangaroo near the intersection of East Hamilton Street and Leach Avenue, a few blocks west of US 61. And I know these streets, right? You know, I grew up in this little town, so this was like blocks away from where I lived at the time, too. The two officers and two deputies searched the area for the animal but found no trace of them. Animals, plural. The kangaroos were reportedly about the size of a middle school child and were traveling together. Anyone who sees them is urged to call 911 or the Palmyra Police Department. This was in 2012. So, the idea of a kangaroo in a little small town is not unique to this town. No, it's actually a real phenomena. It's like something that happens, that people see, sometimes even catch on video. So, today we're going to go to this channel. It's called Crash Course Cryptozoology. And we're going to get a crash course in North American kangaroos. Let's do it. Let me know how the audio is. There's no sound here, though.
Hi, and welcome to Crash Course Cryptozoology.
Oh.
Today I would like to discuss a particular topic in cryptozoology that has not received much attention in more recent years, but, however, seems to persist nonetheless. In fact, the significant takeaway from this subject is its relatively hidden persistence. That is to say, I would like to discuss sightings, both past and present, of the American kangaroo. Recently, on the Crash Course Cryptozoology Facebook page, I linked an article about American kangaroo sightings in an attempt to simply fulfill the page's duty of informing people about cryptozoology as a subject for the day.
And just to be clear, you can look this phenomena up. Little towns all over North America have kangaroo sightings. So
It became more than that, however, when two people who are in my social circles at that came out with kangaroo sightings of their own. I was lucky enough to get permission from both of them to allow them to publicly narrate their stories, thus putting them on record.
Didn't you used to drive long haul back? You never saw a kangaroo when you were out on those lonely highways at night? Where's Al Trucker? Is Al Trucker in here? Al's probably seen those Canadian kangaroos. You can tell they're Canadian. Let's hear some ways you can tell a kangaroo is Canadian in the live chat. I want to see some good jokes on how you can tell a kangaroo is Canadian. I was gonna say it has a little syrup tap on its pouch, but let's hear what you got.
For the very first time. Before we get into those interviews, and to slow down to a more comprehensive pace for a bit, it's proper that we first gain an understanding of what exactly is meant by American kangaroo.
Spooky, for real. There was a small colony of wallabies near me that grew from a bunch that escaped from the zoo decades ago. We're going to talk about that on this video. Don't you worry. We're going to get to that.
To clarify, American kangaroo is not a title that refers to some kind of offshoot species that used to exist or anything of that sort. American kangaroo simply refers to the strange phenomenon of witnesses seeing kangaroos in North America. Kangaroos, of course, are marsupials that are confined only to the continent of Australia. As far as is known, aside from acclimation by zoos, there is no mainstream non-black market kangaroo trade.
Ring says Kalispell, a small town a couple hours north of me when I lived in Montana, had some escaped kangaroos before I moved. Yep, we're going to talk about escaped kangaroos in detail. And I've drove all 48 contiguous states. Yeah, and you've never seen a single kangaroo or Sasquatch? Not a bunny, or I guess you don't see a bunny up in North America. But you can see a kangaroo, you can see a bunny up, right? No, but no chupacabras. You've never run across a thunderbird feeding on a carcass on the side of the road. Mothman's never spread its wings in your headlights. I don't even know what to take it. How to take that back.
The question, of course, for many of these witnesses is, what is a kangaroo doing in North America? Over the timeline of sightings, which many
Canadian roos hold hockey sticks. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, give me those roo jokes.
Sources say lasts about 200 years in the documentation. There have been many proposed theories as to what it is people could be seeing. Escaped exotic pets and missing zoo animals ranking among some of them. There are, however, certain sightings that would suggest something different might be going on. Although sources claim that kangaroo sightings go back as far as the late 1800s, the most well-documented ones are...
Yeah, as soon as people started traveling with kangaroos and menageries, yeah, kangaroos started escaping. And you know what's interesting thing about the Great Plains and also the southwest of the United States? Great habitat for kangaroos. I mean, they don't get the exact diet that they need probably, but they can exist. That's a raccoon. Were you talking about the kangaroo we had up on screen? I think that was a kangaroo. This one? It is a raccoon. Sure looks like a kangaroo to me, or a wallaby. Probably an escaped pet, my opinion. But...
Although sources claim that kangaroo sightings go back as far as the late 1800s, the most well-documented ones are those that take place in the mid to late 20th century. Particularly, a sighting stream from the 1970s documents that a Chicago police group actually followed a kangaroo.
American kangaroos keep guns in their pouches. Boom. Yeah, let's do that too. Give me some American kangaroos. We could do some British kangaroos because there are kangaroo sightings in the UK too. In Europe. So I mean, this is a global phenomenon. It's just prominent in North America. I think it's because kangaroos could actually eke out an existence in the North American biome. Sorry about your eye drops. I hope your eyes get better soon, Porpoise. Not anything but the usual fox, deer, bobcat, etc. Have you ever seen a moose? That'd be cool. Or a bear. Maybe an elk. Mountain lion. See, there's animals that people don't see too often. Even spending all their time on the road, people rarely see a cougar. right? A mountain lion, you won't hardly see them unless they're dead on the side of the road.
For a certain amount of time before losing the animal, and that subsequent sightings were reported in both Illinois and Indiana. Some have even posited that American kangaroo sightings might be responsible for some of the more anomalous or Fortean cryptids North America is familiar with, such as the Jersey devil or devil monkeys.
Have you seen I should bring up my devil monkeys to show them to you. My devil monkeys are so cute. Let me see. Do I have them? I know I posted a whole bunch of them in my CryptoCorner stuff. It was AI cryptids. Nope, not that. Was it cryptic? Really? I didn't. Yeah, anyway, I'll pull them up somehow.
Not all of the American kangaroo subject, however, is so cryptic and vague. There is, under the surface, some very compelling evidence, such as a piece of footage from 2013 shot by a group of hunters in Oklahoma that, without doubt, shows a kangaroo.
We're goose hunting right now, and there's literally a kangaroo getting ready to fucking jump by us. Oh my god, this is insane.
Here it goes. Yeah, check this out.
There it is! There it is! Oh my god. Here it comes. There it is!
That is definitely a kangaroo! I'm watching.
I would like to posit that alongside things like this shows a kangaroo.
We're goose hunting right now, and there's literally a kangaroo getting ready to fucking jump by us. Oh my god, this is insane. What in the crap is going on? There it is! There it is! Oh my god. Here it comes. There it is! There it is! There's a fucking kangaroo!
I would like to posit that alongside...
Now, before I let him go on about this, I do want to say that from my research into this, because I do research these things, I did look into this, and it was that's not that one. Hold on, there was another one that was captured, but where is it? Yeah, this one. The kangaroo was an escaped exotic. As you can see right there, eventually it was reclaimed by its owner. I think this is interesting.
We're goose hunting right now, and there's literally a kangaroo getting ready to jump by us. Oh my god, this is insane. What in the is going on? There it is! There it is! Oh my god. Here it comes. There it is! There it is! There's a kangaroo!
I would be the same way, though. I would, for real, I'd be squealing and screaming. Yeah. Anyway, this was another one in Oklahoma. After exploring the local area, the escapee eventually returned to its enclosure with a bit of assistance from a human chain.
Enjoy more in 2024 with Sky Sports.
I don't sport. Why are you giving me sports ads? You think a targeted ad would be like, hey, here's some kangaroo stuff. Look at that, he's so cute. He's like, what are you following me for, bro? Just doing my kangaroo stuff. Leave me alone. Aww. He's so cute, though. Will you guys get me a kangaroo? Just one. A giant one that'll fit in its pouch. And it can hop around and I'll be like, woo! Come on. You better get moving, little Roo.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, anyway. Let's continue.
Things like this piece of footage, we should consider recent eyewitness testimony as something significant to this subject. This is not an old myth that has since dropped off. Sightings seem to be...
Sandy, rogue roos are on the table for the day. Hello, native atheists. Yeah, we're looking at kangaroos in North America.
Still continuing, and if the formerly undocumented nature of these two reports is anything to go off of, there may be more sightings than we would assume. I will now share the interviews with the two newer witnesses, who are Eli Watson, the host of the cryptozoology podcast Cryptid Campfire, and Jeremy Sanborn, a diver who I have worked with on the documentary Release the Bodette film.
I was around 8 or 9 years old, and we were leaving, if I recall correctly, the zoo. And it was around dusk, and so we were driving in a Suburban at the time. I was sitting in the middle row, directly behind my mom, who was in the passenger seat on the right side. And I was looking out the window, and just towards this hill that was on our, right side, and, there's bushes here and there, and I felt like I was staring at this one bush, and I couldn't make out what made this bush different, because it looked, to me, like all the other bushes. And then it just kind of sprung up and started hopping away in the same direction as our car, I think I should add. And so I was able to observe it for, I want to say 5 seconds before we eventually sped past it, but I was like, whoa, that's a kangaroo, thinking in my head, and my mom echoed that statement out loud. She was like, oh shit, it's a kangaroo. And, if I had to guesstimate how far away it was, I would...
You said you were leaving the zoo. I kind of wonder if it was an escapee, because you're near a zoo. So if I was near a zoo and I saw a kangaroo, I wouldn't be like, oh, it must be a native kangaroo that's a mystery species or something. I would say it's probably escaped from that zoo we just left.
I'd probably say, about 100 yards. It wasn't very close. It wasn't very large either.
The British kangaroos are convicted felons sent from Australia. Australia sends their felon kangaroos to Britain. Oh, let's see, what do we got here? I actually did see a Pennsylvania brown bear once at a cabin. A group of hunters was nearby hunting cabin, was illegally baiting it off of season. That's terrible. Those Pennsylvanian, they get huge in those woods. And they are brown. There's actually a species of a subspecies of black bear, but they are brown, and they're called the Pennsylvanian brown bears. But they get absolutely massive. I saw some in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's funny, we spent the whole day in the Smoky Mountain National Park, like the whole day hiking in the national park. Didn't see anything. Come back to downtown Gatlinburg that evening, and there was freaking bears all over town, like we have raccoons here, like going through, looking for trash and stuff, especially in the tourist district where people like throw, their caramel apples and all that stuff that they get down there on the strip. Throw all their waste away through those cans.
I'm not exactly an expert on how large kangaroos are, but it didn't look too much bigger than the bushes that were around. It was definitely significant enough for it to stand out to us, but it also did really blend in with the kind of the other bushes. It's like a tannish gray. It's kind of like this dead bush color, I guess, to describe it.
Right. Now, the whole setting being just 5 seconds long, were any of the individuals that you could see on it, or was it just kind of this quick incident altogether?
It was just a quick incident. I mean, I thought I saw a tail. The legs were what stood out to me a lot. As far as the head goes, I don't really remember seeing much of the head. I just remember seeing it hopping, which is why I thought it was a kangaroo. I think that's why my mom thought it was a kangaroo. But yeah, I don't know. It was definitely strange.
Thought it was a kangaroo, or was it a kangaroo? Because you were leaving the zoo, right? You're leaving the zoo, so a escaped kangaroo seems to be the best option, unless it was. What else would be hopping? Maybe a deer, of course. That's what a lot of people said the kangaroo that people were seeing in Palmyra was, or the two kangaroos or whatever. I'm no kangaroo expert, but isn't there two types, red and gray? I don't think I'm confusing them for a squirrel, or with a squirrel. So with kangaroos, yeah, there's red and gray kangaroos. The red kangaroos are much bigger. There's other kangaroos too, though. There's more than just the two species of kangaroo, though. How many species of kangaroo are there? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, there's the eastern gray kangaroo and western gray kangaroo are two different species. Okay. So there's the three species of kangaroos, but wallaroo and wallabies are. I mean, they're this not too much difference. It's a size difference. And then there's tree kangaroos, which are unique in unto themselves. Let's see. Looking at the family tree here. The wallabies, I guess, would probably be more like what this guy's talking about seeing, though, because he's talking about being smaller.
Interesting.
And this was far away from the zoo, you mentioned, right?
Yeah, I think this is about 30 or 40 miles away from the zoo.
Yeah, not a place you'd expect to see the
I
kangaroo.
think it's still on the. Yeah, definitely not a place you would see a kangaroo. I don't think Southern California, San Diego.
Oh, 30 to 40 miles from the zoo, huh? That's interesting. That's quite a bit further than I would expect for it to have traveled if it escaped from the zoo.
Home to kangaroos.
It's pretty much not, from what we know. Yeah, exactly. That was the conclusion of Eli Watson's interview.
But SoCal is definitely a place where a lot of exotic animals are kept because of the mild climate. Like even like traveling menageries and stuff they'll overwinter in California, SoCal, or they'll overwinter in Florida. Because they need a place where like elephants and tigers and stuff like that can be comfortable without dying and getting sick. Tropical animals, I guess there's tigers that live in the snow, Siberian tigers, but that's not usually what you see in a menagerie. What you generally see is a Bengal tiger.
I will now play the audio from Jeremy Sanborn's interview.
So, I was coming home, it was Washington Street, Leominster, and like, there's not a lot of eerie woods around. Like, if you go and walk in a couple roads, you can come out to some woods, but there's nothing like really, like, so I'm pulling in, and there's a double garage down the back, at the edge of my headlights, on the left side, also I see the sheet, and it was just there, and then gone, and weird, like you think something jumped in there, but the first thing that came to my...
Someone's puppers is getting frustrated. I've heard kangaroos doing some effed up stuff to people's dogs. I'm not going to say what. Suffice to say, kangaroos are psychopaths. Yeah, otters will do some messed up stuff to dogs too. Otters will try to lure your dog to the water.
My mind, I don't know why, but it's a freaking kangaroo. It's just how its posture was and stuff. I don't know, it's just...
But they don't just kill it. They also, well, I'll leave it up to your imagination what else they do.
In mine. Right. And, it was crazy. It was gray, and it wasn't like a wicked dark gray, but it was gray, like just a regular gray color. And I'd say probably like, I don't know, 5 feet maybe. It was kind of tall for just an animal in the yard, That's what I thought it might have been a person. It wasn't really too personish, It kind of like just went, disappeared like in a second. Like it was just there and then gone. So I don't know what it was, but it was strange. And like I said, the first thing I thought was a freaking kangaroo because I got out of the car, I looked around, didn't see anything, and I'm like, what the hell? And then I went into the house and I asked my girlfriend at the time, I'm like, did you ever any kangaroos escaping from somewhere? Because I swear I just saw one out in the yard. And she remembers the two I talked to her the other day. And I don't know, man, it was weird.
Yeah, it sounds weird.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I would have, at first you would think, like, all right, person. But, in the fraction of a second I did see, I thought, there's someone in my yard. But then, just how it moved and the way it looked, it just all of a sudden, like, kangaroo just came into mind. So, I don't know. Yeah, it was strange. I mean, it was something. I don't know if it was a person all dressed in gray and they jumped, and they were kind of thick, too. It wasn't like anything small. It was...
Sorry if I ruined anybody's adorable image of otters that they had in their head. Otters are, They can be cute too, though, when they're not. How do you put this? When they're not getting it on with dead canines.
Like a decent sized figure. And so yeah, but then I was with one of my buddies like a couple years ago, and he's talking to me, and he's leading up, the story. He says he's driving, and all of a sudden this thing jumped in the road. I'm like, did you see that kangaroo? He said, yeah, dude, I swear it was a kangaroo. It jumped across the highway, the road, it jumped over the barrier, and he's like, there's a kangaroo. And I'm like, I thought I saw a kangaroo too.
It is certainly noteworthy that both of these witnesses are people who have people in their lives that were either at or afterwards were able to corroborate this.
It's also noteworthy that both of these people have cryptozoology podcast. Just saying.
Sighting, in some degree. What exactly this means?
But we might check out their channels though, because this has been a fun ride so far.
Cannot be said for sure yet. These are not individuals who are prone to making up sightings. I see no reason to come to the conclusion that they would be dishonest about this. Both of them being relatively humble in their telling of the story as much as was necessary. The subject of American or phantom kangaroos is a very strange one, not only by the fact that kangaroos themselves are rather strange animals, but by the fact that of all places to see one, North America is certainly one of the strangest. And I would love to know what all of you think of these phantom kangaroo sightings. Or, perhaps, if any of you have your own stories to share.
So, most of us grew up, we may not even know it, with the idea of the escaped kangaroo archetype in our brain. And you may not even realize it. I don't know most of the people that I grew up around and that were friends, we up until at least the 80s, we grew up with the cartoons, the Looney Tunes, and one of the characters in Looney Tunes is an escaped kangaroo, right? That's escaped North American kangaroo, because Sylvester, I think Sylvester, maybe Wile E. Coyote and Bugs Bunny, I don't know, other characters interacted with it too, but there's a kangaroo that escapes, and they keep mistaking it for they think it's a mouse, right? And then Sylvester goes in to get it because he's got his son. He's like, oh, go teaching his son to hunt mice, right? And he keeps going in to get the mouse, and it's not a mouse. It's a kangaroo, and it keeps whipping his ass. So we get that sort of same vibe when we go out and we see a animal that we can't identify. Maybe generally speaking, I don't want to throw people under the bus. I'm not trying to point out that I'll say it's city people or anything like that, but it'll be people who aren't used to seeing wildlife, and then we see a deer or some people say that they're seeing that they think their people are seeing geese and stuff like that. I don't know if you can mistake a goose for a kangaroo, but definitely some animals like raccoons and possums might be, if just caught through foliage, mistaken for a kangaroo. Raccoons can hop around a little bit, and they're generally about the size of a wallaby, so not unheard of, but generally their behavior would be quite different, since kangaroos are herbivores and raccoons are generally opportunistic omnivores. So you would expect some different behaviors, but just like caught through the foliage, maybe. Anyway, the archetype, though, being stuck in our head from childhood, from cartoons that we watched as children, sort of cements that into your subconscious, right? I mean, you could also make the same argument for like Gossamer from Looney Tunes, the big red monster guy. It's like a Bigfoot-like creature. I had a second video here. I don't know if we're gonna have time for it though, because it's a lot longer. It's like 18 minutes.
July 2003. On a snowy evening, Sergio Gordy was traveling.
think maybe if we speed it up quite a bit, we can get through it. Let's speed it up to 1.75.
On Route 3 in Punta Maria, Argentina. He was in a truck with 5 other family members. The weather was so bad that high beams were required to see. Suddenly, one of the family members pointed to what they thought was a horse on the road straight ahead. As they inched closer, they quickly realized that it was not a horse. Then, as they drove by it, the creature began chasing the truck using strange leaps and bounds that made it look like it was staying in one place, but it was actually moving at a high speed. It suddenly stopped on the embankment and jumped over the road in one bound, disappearing into the distance.
If it's so big that you mistake it for a horse, I don't think it's a kangaroo, my friend. Kangaroos are, this is in Argentina, kangaroos are not as big as horses. Let me restart this from the beginning, maybe.
Strange kangaroos. When it comes to the paranormal and kangaroos, they sort of fit into 2 categories. On one hand, you have these phantom kangaroos, these out-of-place kangaroos. People claim to see kangaroos in places where they're not supposed to be. People see them, they report them, but yet nobody can find any trace of them. And then you have these weird kangaroos that are sort of like hybrids. They're sort of like kangaroos. They look like kangaroos or they act like kangaroos, but they're not kangaroos. So you do have that too. This video, I'm kind of focusing on the weird hybrid types.
Okay, so this is a
July 5th, 2008, Holly, Michigan.
A different biblical kind of kangaroo that are they don't behave like kangaroos. Oh yeah, I promised I was going to show you guys we'll wrap up on that because this kind of leads into like a devil monkey sort of.
Having dropped off a volunteer that he worked with at an art center in Davison, Donald Park, a pseudonym, was returning home. It was 4:41 a.m. He was driving slower than the posted limit, about 45 miles per hour, and he had his high beams on as he made his way down the lonely road. He suddenly eased on his brakes after spotting an exceptionally large creature digging in someone's trash next to the right side of the road, about 20 to 25 feet away. He continued to slow down almost to a near crawl, hoping to get a better look at whatever it was. Park was surprised to see just how tall it was, too huge to be any average animal that one would normally see in the roadside garbage bin at night. Uncertain of what he was looking at, Park began to make out that the creature was holding a piece of trash. It did not appear to have paws, but more slender, hand-like protrusions. It had huge, round, and red glowing eyes. Upon seeing Park, the creature reacted with a look of surprise. It was as if it thought no one would ever find out that it existed. At least that's the feeling Park got. For nearly 4 seconds, the creature stared at him while holding on to the piece of trash.
Sounds more like a giant eye right now, which would scare the hell out of me if I saw a giant eye standing in the woods. But his description so far has been sort of, there hasn't been too much said about it, what it looked like. Just his eyes glowing in the dark.
Trash. Its triangular light gray face reminded Park of a dog, but it was more pointed and triangular towards the end of the nose and mouth. Its presence did not seem ordinary, and its gigantic glowing red eyes made him feel something was out of place. It deeply unsettled him. Its ears were large and round, similar to that of a mouse. Its arms were bendable and closer to its body than its long, flexible legs. The body was heavier in the bottom and kind of reminded the witness of a kangaroo body, but it was completely gray. He wasn't certain if it had short hair or if its body was just colored gray. It had a skinny tail that was similar in appearance to a rat's tail, but it was much longer and slightly wider. He had barely noticed the creature's tail until it maneuvered out of the way of the garbage can. After that, it stared at Park for about 3 to 4 more seconds, then it dropped the trash forcefully like a human would with both hands. It was standing upright and appeared to be over 3 feet tall. The creature...
This guy saw a raccoon with mange. I'm like 100% sure that's what he saw. A raccoon with mange.
Bent down to the ground and jumped forward on all fours, then got up a bit and turned to the left to aim for the woods. It reached for the ground again with its front arms and jumped forward with its back legs, swinging in front of it like a rabbit. The creature did not make any sounds that the witness could hear with his windows open, and it did not try to attack or hiss at him. Park desperately wanted to turn his car around and go back. He wanted to know exactly what this creature was, though he had a nagging feeling that if he did, things would not end well for him. This case was reported to the Mutual UFO Network.
It definitely sounds like a raccoon that lost its fur. They look quite strange. The description. Hold on. Let me show you. Let's see. Here we go. We are, yeah, like this and like that. That does look like what he's talking about, right? Let's open image and so I want to zoom in on it a little bit. Yeah, oh my gosh, look at that. Someone told you, oh, that's a hairless kangaroo. You're like, okay. Right, but we know it's a raccoon because we know it's a raccoon, but it's easily mistaken, right? Look at these. Dog-like head, as described, right? I always like this one. This one's not gray though. This one's got a white body, but a lot of them are gray, or even black. Depends on their, on just their phenotype. But they look freaky when you take their hair off. And maybe even a little scary if you don't know what you're looking at. We already watched you. This, by the way, is beyond creepy, is what we're looking at right now.
March 1st, 2008, Gardnerville, Nevada, 11 p.m. Sarah Coyne, a pseudonym, was getting ready to turn in for the night. She had flipped off her lights when her border collie Australian Shepherd started barking at something outside. She initially assumed a raccoon or skunk was prowling around in her backyard. Since she had some 30 ducks, 3 hens, and a goat, the occasional furry nighttime visitor was to be expected. The quacking of her ducks soon added to the chorus of barks. She decided to go and have a look, walking into the living room and flipping on the outside deck light. She peered out towards the back where the ducks were, and suddenly there stood a strange creature on her second step. Coming up the deck right in front of her, she jolted back. Her dog was going berserk, barking at the creature just outside the door, about 4 feet away. Coyne stared at the creature, trying to figure out exactly what it was. It stared back at her. It had black eyes, a real thin face, and it looked incredibly old. It had long black and silver hair going down its back, and she could not see its legs. It was definitely some type of creature she had never seen before. After it had stared at Coyne for about 30 seconds, the creature moved back and then leapt backwards, whoa, like a kangaroo. The whole time it was looking at her as it hopped over to the northern fence, and eventually disappeared into the darkness. Coyne was not frightened, but she elected to remain inside, unsure of what the creature was. For reasons she could not quite define, she sensed that the creature was, quote, intelligent.
I don't know, the description here is very vague. A creature moving on 2 legs with silver hair. Not anything about it being kangaroo-like, but this is maybe devil monkey territory.
Report appeared in Stephen Wagner's Your True Tales. In late January 2004, near Romero, Chile, Robert Ayar Roja and Maribel Anar Cara and their daughter,
moving into South America now,
Daphne, were driving on an isolated road surrounded by woods when they suddenly spotted a bizarre creature on the road ahead of them. It stood on 2 feet, was totally covered with hair, and had bright red eyes. It was standing bent forward on 2 large hind legs, similar to a kangaroo. It had 2 small hands, which it moved very rapidly. Roja recalled that upon seeing their car, the creature seemed, quote, afraid. As if reacting, it suddenly jumped away at an incredible speed into the woods. Roja slowly brought the car to a halt. He and his wife took a few minutes to recover from the shock of what they had seen. Neither had any idea what it was or could be. They then drove away quickly from the area. Roberto and Maribel, in speaking to Chilean investigators.
So in South America, you run into, there's not raccoons, but there's their whole extended family. There's Codys and Kinkajous and Olingos and all these variety of other procyonids with little hands, with mobile hands with thumbs that look like little people hands. There's a myriad of them in South America. I'm not saying that's what they saw here. I don't know. There's not a good enough description of it beyond that it had little hands and ran into the woods. How big it was, that it had fur and red eyes, but any animal with a tapetum lucidum, the thing in the back of the eye, is going to have glowing eyes and when caught in the headlights. So that's not really giving me any details about what it could be, or at least not narrowing it down very much for me.
Liliana Nunez and Hector Cosillo, L., reported that what scared them the most was the 2 large protruding fangs from the creature's upper mandible. They noted that the creature bounded away in an unnatural manner. Thankfully, their daughter slept through the encounter. Curiously,
I don't know if fangs don't fit a kangaroo description either.
In the nearby town of Boone, another motorist struck a similar creature, apparently without hurting it, and hairs, possibly belonging to the creature, were found on the scene.
Punta Maria.
July 2003, on a snowy evening, Sergio Gordy was traveling on Route 3 in Punta Maria, Argentina. He was in a truck with 5 other family members. The weather was so bad that high beams were required to see. Suddenly, one of the family members pointed to what they thought was a horse on the road straight ahead. As they inched closer,
This is the one we were started off, that I had to rewind from. So, yeah, again, if it's big enough that you think that you mistake it for a horse, it's not a kangaroo either.
Quickly realized that it was not a horse. Then, as they drove by it, the creature began chasing the truck using strange leaps and bounds that made it look like it was staying in one place, but it was actually moving at a high speed. It suddenly stopped on the embankment and jumped over the road in one bound, disappearing into the distance. Gordy noted that the creature was similar to a large kangaroo with short arms and long hind legs. Its head was close to its body, and it was dark brown in color and was about 6.5 feet tall. In their write-up on the case, the UFO-based website Eugenia Tate claimed that there had been other encounters with the same or similar creature in the area over the years. February 2003, near Izmit, Turkey. Adalar Zeynep, a pseudonym, was in his...
See, I told you we get to Europe. See, as I was spooky. There are European ones too. We haven't got any the UK yet, but we still got 9 more minutes of this video. There might be some UK kangaroo. You kangaroos.
Vehicle entering a viaduct or bridge, which was about 90 kilometers from Istanbul. He slowed his car to about 120 kilometers. That was when his car's headlights caught sight of a bizarre animal or creature crossing the road just ahead of him. It sort of leapt into the highway from behind the barrier. It then bounded across the highway. Zeynep found the fashion in which it was running peculiar. He noted that it was arching its back as its head was still held low in between its shoulders. It had a shiny gray, silvery colored body and no tail. The witness hit the brakes in order to give it more time to get across. Just as it got across the 4 lanes and reached the mid-barriers, it stopped and rose up on its hind feet. It stood just as a kangaroo would stand and looked around. The creature stared at Zeynep's headlights as though it was mesmerized for a few seconds. Its forelegs were long enough to touch its knees. Its eyes reflected the headlights in green. By then, Zeynep had come to within 30 meters of it. It had a slight hunch while standing up, and he estimated that its height was about 5.5 feet tall when standing upright.
Damn.
Then it leapt across...
That's a pretty big animal. It could be a kangaroo. 5.5 feet tall, biped. Yeah, it could be a kangaroo. I'm not saying it couldn't. It could also be a lycanthrope. We are, in Europe, so that's their natural habitat.
Across the middle barrier and bounded across the other side of the highway, which headed east. Zeynep further described the creature as having fairly large eyes and no hair. This case was reported to Vince and Jane Font of the Castle of Spirits website and podcast.
Alan Rosales, author of the Humanoid Journals, he took an interest in this case, and he noted how similar this creature sounded to a chupacabra, though he'd never heard of a chupacabra encounter in Turkey.
Chupacabra wouldn't be in Turkey, but...
Sienna, Pokri.
I mean, it wouldn't be a chupacabra. They'd have to have a different, local name for it, right? Instead of the Turkish delight, the Turkish defright, maybe? I don't know how you say goat sucker in Turkish, so...
Panama. One evening in early August 2002, Luis Alfredo Diaz claims that he heard loud noises coming from his terrace patio, where the kitchen was located. Luis had called to his wife, who went out to see. He too got up and went to investigate. There he discovered his cat laying dead. Diaz could see 2 obvious holes on the neck and some blood on the floor. Maria, his wife, was standing in front of him. A panic-stricken look came over her face. Turning around, Luis was confronted by a bizarre 3.5-foot-tall humanoid, which had jumped to the center of the patio. Luis described the creature as thin, covered with dark hair.
Why would you describe... If it's a humanoid, it's not a kangaroo. You're supposed to be talking about kangaroos. You said this video is titled Strange Kangaroos. You described it as humanoid. It's not a kangaroo. Morning, Sumami.
Large pointed ears that almost covered its face. It had very large eyes and extremely strong hind legs, resembling that of a kangaroo. Terrified, he ran to his son's bedroom and carried him outside, yelling for his neighbors. He and the other neighbors searched the area, but failed to locate anything.
West Covina.
This final case was reported directly to Albert Rosales, author of the Humanoid Journals. It happened in 2001. The witness was living in a hilly neighborhood in West Covina, California. She found herself waking up at 2 a.m. to the sound of all of her dogs, quote, literally screaming. She had 2 pit bulls and 1 husky. She got up and went to investigate, was riling up her dogs. In the front yard, she observed 2 bizarre creatures. They were about 7 feet tall and were sitting on their hind legs. They were furry, their ears were rounded, and their faces had a white trim of fur, and they looked like a cross between a raccoon and a monkey-type creature, with kangaroo legs. From what she could tell, they were holding a pine cone, apparently examining it. When they saw the witness, both creatures took off up the side of the hill. Their legs seemed to be strangely inverted. The next day, she called the Animal and Game Department and reported it. Curiously, every day for the next week, she received calls from that department wanting to know each and every detail of the encounter.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to slander the kangaroo men. Kangaroo men are different, though. They're a special category all their own.
According to the witness, quote, they obviously knew something because they were very interested.
I don't know about the description here. So far, I mean, it sounds like, I don't know why it couldn't be beer, but maybe the witness would be like, how dare you say that I mistake a bear for a kangaroo? But she didn't really describe a kangaroo either. This video has been kind of like not kangaroos. The first video was more kangaroos. And we actually had kangaroo videos. This is just sightings of things that I guess he said he was going to lean more into the strange kangaroo sightings. Okay. And this channel is, again, it's beyond creepy, but seriously, he does like 4 minutes of outro stuff. Like this 18-minute video. The video is over. and we're at 14 minutes. He's got a lot of patrons, which is awesome. Good for you. You got 202K subs, so that makes sense. You have a lot of patrons to help and support you. But you can make it faster than this, I think. You probably I think having your patron scroll longer than a minute, unless your video is over an hour long, is a little excessive, if it's that much of it. But you do you. I'm not telling you how to run your channel. Obviously, you're much more successful than me. You've got 202K. I've got like 1.1K. So yeah, you're orders of magnitude bigger than me. Just saying. So we had this channel, which also covered the topic, but is much smaller. This is the Crash Course in Cryptozoology channel is 3.29, but I don't think that this one's so much of a content mill as this one is, as these guys are. This is more like a what op or Scary Cherry kind of channel, whereas this is actually real people that they're part of the cryptozoology community doing their videos. So actually I appreciate this type of content much more than the other one that's just schlock. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just a really successful independent content maker. But it seems like this is the channel where they like pay a narrator to read it, and they have a script writer to write it, and have a research team to research it and all that. Whereas this seems like it's just the cryptozoologists themselves, which, you know, I'm part of that community, so I appreciate. So both of y'all keep up the work, though. You're giving me lots of content to work with these strange creatures. Anyway, that's our cryptic corner for today. We got some out of place kangaroos beyond kangaroos. They're hopping all over the place. You know, when they got off Noah's Ark, some of them must have got lost getting their way back to Australia or something. Stick around, because we're gonna have some of the cringiest bad archaeology that is extremely racist and gross in just a minute, with none other than a freaking Robert Seffer. To my cryptic corner crew, thank you so much for sticking around. It's been a delight going through these hoppy boys with you. If you have a kangaroo sighting, or you know of a kangaroo sighting, please let me know in the comments down below. Please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. All right, live from the Hive audience, don't go anywhere, because we still got more show to come. I gotta make Bugbot say don't go. Hold on. Say it, Bugbot. Say it. Do what you're told. It does what it's told, or it gets the hose. There we go. All right. So, why do I still got it like that? There we go. Anyway, thank you for sticking around for Cryptic Corner. We do have the sci-fails coming up next with the, oh my gosh, Robert Seffer just released this awful video about the sacred bloodline of Noah, and I am absolutely cringing. So I'll see you guys over there. Hello, my beauties and bees. Welcome to an episode of Sci-Fails that I'm kind of icked about. But we gotta do it because it's icky and it is definitely bad science, bad archaeology, bad everything, bad genealogy, bad how genetics work. Everything is wrong when it comes to Robert Seffer. Robert Seffer is the cringiest of the cringe. He's a proponent of the lost city of Atlantis being an Aryan kingdom. He's a proponent of sacred Jewish bloodlines, and that is what we're dealing with today. He's also promotes nonsense like the aquatic ape theory and the most racist of ideas about the human origin and why white people are the best. He really wants to convince you that white people are just the greatest thing that's ever happened to the world. And he also, he denies Darwinian evolution. So, debunking out of Africa, he actually says that he makes the mistake of claiming that that Australopithecines had thumbs on their feet, which is not true at all. They had very human-like feet. Like we have dozens of foot bones from Australopithecines. We know what their feet looked like. We don't just have Lucy. So when it comes to nonsense and BS and just terrible archaeology and bad science, you can always count on Seffer to deliver in the cringiest way possible. So without further ado, let's find out about Noah's noble bloodline and how that leads to apparently Donald Trump's divine right to rule us. Holy shit.
Ignatius Donnelly was born in 1831 to an Irish immigrant who had settled in Philadelphia. He was an American congressman, but he was best remembered for authoring a book published in 1882 called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World, where he detailed theories concerning the mythical lost continent of Atlantis, which according to Plato was an empire.
He thinks people want to see him staring off at the ocean. He puts a lot of videos of him staring off in the ocean and talking philosophically about his nonsense. Now, we're going to get like almost to Tartaria territory here.
Empire that flourished during the late Pleistocene, or Ice Age, and met its demise through volcanoes.
The Pleistocene is... and this guy's an archaeologist, or whatever he calls himself. The Pleistocene is not an ice age. There are several glacial and interglacial periods within the time frame of the Pleistocene.
Volcanic cataclysm and sea level rise from rapidly melting glaciers, which submerged the island kingdom somewhere in the Atlantic, probably around the Azores archipelago.
Or it didn't exist at all, and it's actually about it's a poem about the folly and hubris of man, written by a philosophical-minded people, probably passed down orally for generations before that. Perhaps even potentially linking back to folk memory of things like Doggerland or other areas that were submerged, because we are finding little villages and stuff in the North Sea and things like that, but nothing like what actually is claimed about the lost city of Atlantis. They tether on a whole lot of nonsense there. Maybe there was a bustling township or something that got flooded in Doggerland that there's folk memory that's passed down through time for, but nothing like what they claim about. Holy crap.
Donnelly suggested that Atlantis had been destroyed during the same event remembered in the Bible as the Great Flood. He cited research on the ancient Maya civilization.
Do you guys want to watch him play in the surf while he tells us about the Mayans? Oh my god, what did I just miss him say? I was so distracted by his artsy. He actually did he poise a camera up here and be like, I'm gonna walk down here and play in the surf for holy
as the Great Flood. He cited research on the ancient Maya civilization, claiming that it shared a common origin of ancient civilizations in Egypt, Europe, and the Americas. He also thought that it had been the original home of an Aryan race.
Yeah, he was a Lost Tribes nonsense guy, right? This was a common thread throughout the European societies of the 17th, 18th, and even into the definitely into the 19th century. I mean, archaeology was getting a little better in the 19th century, but that's when this stuff comes from as well. This folklore, because they couldn't believe that brown people could build the mounds in Cahokia or the cities in Mesoamerica. So there had to be white people there before that just had disappeared. That was the folklore of the time period. So yeah, a lot of people wrote nonsense about that.
Whose blue-eyed descendants could be scattered around the world.
Sumami says, all right, I put down my controller for this. Yeah, this is some straight up bullshit, but I don't want to cut into your gaming time, so make sure you make time for you, sweetie. The owl and the pussycat went to the sea. Beautiful pea green boat fact. Okay. The book is super wordy to cover the lack of content. You read that. Okay, yeah. So Dee read that book. When was it published? Do you have a first edition? Though actually we really know Atlantis was just a retelling of the sinking of Numenor, which is why people think the Earth is round. Round Earth is keeping us from Valinor. Wake up, globeheads. Yes, we need to go to the Undying Land and conquer Valinor. Like the Numenorians of old, when the true god Melkor led us to the west to be immortal like him and join the ranks of gods. That's why the Valar want to keep you out. The Valar are just trying to keep you out.
Giving rise to these new empires after re-establishing and disseminating agriculture during the Holocene. While many of Donnelly's theories have been discredited since the 1800s, given the advances in archaeology, geology, and genetics, some of his conclusions regarding the diffusion of race have proven to be intuitively correct.
No, they weren't. You're wrong about race. So the fact that you're basing it on some 18th or 19th century book doesn't surprise me at all. And you claim to be like actually researching and studying the science when you're really just like doing confirmation research into the womb.
In particular, when referencing mythology and biblical history. For example, Ignatius Donnelly wrote, quote, "Did the Aryan race come from Atlantis? The center of the Aryan migrations within the historical period was Armenia."
I would not be surprised if his dating profile didn't say looking for a traditional woman that prioritizes family. Yeah, he's definitely like wanting to, he's all about Aryan bloodline and stuff. We'll get to that. We're only a minute and a half, and I have to stop him every time he says a sentence, though. I'm sorry that we have to go from fun, hoppy boys and cute kangaroos to this trash fire.
Here too is Mount Ararat, where it is said that the Ark rested, another identification with the flood regions, as it represents the usual transfer of the Atlantis legend.
Oh my god, I remember the breast milk ice cream post. That was so cringy.
By an Atlantean people to a high mountain in their new home. Now turn to a map. Suppose the ships of Atlantis to have reached the shores of Syria at the eastern end of the Mediterranean.
Okay.
The Atlantis ships are then but 200 miles distant from our...
They're called Phoenicians. I don't know if you need to... You're supposed to be in... Okay.
Armenia. But these ships need not stop at Syria. They can go by the Dardanelles and the Black Sea, by uninterrupted water communication to the shores of Armenia itself. If we admit, then, that it was from Armenia that Aryans stalked Europe and
Oh, holy shit! Oh my god! This is the Great White Conqueror theory. Yeah, the Aryan. This is the freaking cornerstone. This is the cornerstone of their bullshit. And genetics do not play out this way. When we look at genetics and look at haplogroups, this is not what we see. There was no white civilization that gave rise to the kingdoms of India, and that's the idea that the white people came and brought civilization to the indigenous people of India and the indigenous people of Northern Europe, that these mighty whiteys came and brought that in. This is not what we actually see. Oh, it's not. This isn't even talking about genetics. This is talking about the evolution of language. And language follows trade routes. What are you fucking talking about? Oh, I didn't even. Sorry, I just got so upset because I thought this was saying this was how the genetics played out. This is actually talking about language. Does he think that people carry? Oh my goodness.
India. There's no reason why the original population of Armenia should not have been themselves colonists from Atlantis.
Armenians are colonists from Atlantis because language travels over trade routes. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, Maya, we're gonna raid your thing here in about an hour and 10 minutes. So I'm trying to get through this horrid mess.
The Greeks, who are Aryans, trace their descent from the people who were destroyed by the flood, as did other races clearly Aryan. The nations who are comprehended under the common appellation of Indo-European, says Max Mueller.
Again, we're talking. These are what is languages here? The language does not equate that they are the people. Like, because this language passed down this trade route does not mean that the genetics of the people moved down that trade route as well. That everybody's related back to Atlanteans. What a weird direction to take this.
The Hindus, the Persians.
I don't want to miss it. That's kind of the thing. I like when you get in your break. I love seeing you get out there. We're gonna get Maya to. I think we need to get Maya to 500 here quick, guys. So if you're not subscribed, I think that's just Maya, right? It's just M-A-Y-A. I'm just not how to spell your name, but how to do your plug for your channel. Yeah, let's get her to 500. So share that around.
Persians, the Celts, Germans, Romans, Greeks, and Slavs do not only share the same words and the same grammar, slightly modified in each.
Robert Zephyrus, famous for his sleight of hand of switching, and was it Dapper Dino who talked about this, of switching from talking about language evolution to genetics, right? He's famous for doing that, for saying, yes, we're talking about language here. Oh, but these are the genetic people then. This is the bloodline.
Each country. But they seem to have likewise preserved a mass of popular traditions which had grown up before they left their common home. Their domesticated animals were the same as our own, except for one fowl adopted from America. In the past 10,000 years, we've added one bird to their list of domesticated animals. They raised wheat and wool.
Dude, no. I did a whole video on the history of domestication from start to finish. You can go watch it. Robert Zephyr. It might teach you something, but the domestication of different animals like chickens from China, turkey from North America. You're talking one fowl. We've got guinea from Africa. You're talking about one fowl. We got asses from Africa. You're talking about one fowl. We've got cattle from India and in Southeast Asia. You're talking about one fowl. Only a handful of the domesticated species were domesticated by white people or Aryans. There's no such thing as Aryans. It is a diverse group, a diverse range of haplogroups. Not nearly as diverse as you see in places like Africa, but a diverse group of arrangement of haplogroups and overlapping populations. And the domestication of dogs happened way before anybody had white skin. Okay? The domestication of dogs happened about 40 to 25,000 years ago. So the idea that was all the species were domesticated by freaking... But yeah, I've got a video on this, Robert. Go watch it. I feel like Kent Hovind saying, go watch my video on domestication of dogs, and you'll see that there's only one kind of dog. No, but seriously, I just having to rehash this. I'm 3.5 minutes into this, and I've been going covering this topic for 20 minutes now. He can't complete a sentence without doing a falsity or or dropping just blatant untruths or fabrications.
And spun and wove as we do. Their metals are ours, even iron they had already discovered. A still further evidence of the civilization of this ancient...
There is no geological evidence for Atlantis. There's no place that Atlantis could exist at all. It's just not a thing. That there's like what you're showing, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is proof that Atlantis doesn't exist.
Race is found in the fact that before the dispersion from their original home, the Aryans had reached such a degree of development.
And he's gonna lean into that bullshit that the people from the Native Americans couldn't have built the civilizations of the Americas. The white people had to have been there before too. It's almost as bad as the Mormon idea that that white people came with their Bronze Age submarines.
Development, that they possessed a regularly organized religion. All this presupposes temples, priests, sacrifices, and an orderly state of society. But above all, it must be remembered that the Greeks, an Aryan race, in their mythological traditions, show the closest relationship to Atlantis.
The Greeks were the coastal people that would have been familiar with the loss of civilizations to natural disasters due to things like, Pompeii. It's been shown that Greek cities rose and fell. So the idea, the Creations, based off Thera, exactly, Ring. That's what I was thinking of. I don't know why I said Pompeii. I'm thinking of the Minoans. That's sort of why the Greeks would lean into that.
We find in the Eleusinian Mysteries, an Atlantean institution, their influence during the whole period of Greek history, down to the coming of Christianity, was extraordinary. And even then, this masonry of pre-Christian days, in which kings and emperors begged to be initiated, was, it is claimed,
begged to be initiated. This guy sniffs his own farts, I swear.
Continue to our own times in our own Freemasons, who trace their descent back to the Dionysiac fraternity, which originated in Attica.
I want to be part of the Dionysus fraternity. Dionysus was probably the coolest of the Greek gods, right? God of wine, Come on, girls.
And just as we have
Happy New Year, Nikki. Good to see ya. And Steph's here. Maya showed up. We get all the cool people. I don't think I've, wow, I've got a lot of people watching. I guess I should dunk on racist assholes more often. Surely, because no people of color would have an orderly society, says Deep Arcs. Meanwhile, in Egypt, mentions Sumami, yeah. No, the Egyptians, yeah, they do the mighty whitey thing where there was a conquering class of white people in Egypt. That's the same thing they do with India. There was a conquering class of white people in India. There was a conquering class of white people in America, the Mesoamericans, and they based it on they don't understand indigenous art and stuff.
We have seen the Saturnalian festivities of Italy descending from Atlantean harvest feast, so these Eleusinian mysteries can be traced back to Plato's island. But as the story goes, this all came to a catastrophic end at the close of the Pleistocene.
Okay, so that at the close of the Pleistocene was way, way before any of the civilizations that you've just mentioned here, right? The Pleistocene is 12,000 years ago, and you're talking about stuff that's happened within the last 3,000 to 4,000 years. So, not related events, not even something that you could infer as related events. None of these civilizations existed. Humans were still living as hunter-gatherer tribes for the most part. And when they did start building civilizations, they were brown people from the Middle East, because everybody was brown people back then. We didn't move into freaking into the regions of Europe where it became beneficial to our haplogroups to oh my god to develop to pass on low melanism due to things like rickets. So it's not just, oh, these were, and that's the thing too. What we're gonna get to is that Noah was like, there's this passage in the book of Enoch, I think, where they talk about how white Noah was. So like he was like pure white. It's supposed to I think the writer, it's poetic, so I think it's supposed to represent his purity. But the way that his dad explains it to Enoch in heaven, because he goes like on a spirit journey to freak out to his dad about how Noah was so white, and these people will take that and extrapolate it out to that. Oh, so white people are the superior, pure people like Noah. Are we about to have another weasel invasion? So I believe this is supposed to represent Pompeii here, is the where this art comes from, where this model burning comes from. However, that was not at the end of the Pleistocene.
According to Plato, quote,
You know, I hear weasels migrated from Atlantis, or were they from Mu? I can't remember. Are weasels from Atlantis or Mu? I'm gonna pull the chat and see. Let's see. And then Mu. Mu will also stand in for Lemuria, so we're gonna do that. So Lemuria or Mu can be.
You remember only one deluge, though there have been many. You and your fellow citizens are descended from the few survivors that...
Finally, you said something correct. There's been many deluges over many areas over many years, but not big ones that cover the earth by any stretch of the imagination.
Remained. but you know nothing about it because so many succeeding generations left no record in writing. The change in the rising and setting of the sun and other heavenly bodies, how in those times they used to set in the quarter where they now rise, and used to rise where they now set. Of all changes which take place in the heavens.
So is he claiming that the Earth didn't spin the way that it spins now back then? Holy shit. Is your brain broken, Robert Zephyr? How did you make it through college with these nonsense ideas? I think weasels are weasels overwhelmingly. I'm getting the results coming in that weasels are from Moo. Does that mean then that that mongooses come from Atlantis?
Heavens. This reversal is the greatest and most complete. There is at that time great destruction of animals in general, and only a small part of the human race survives.
Now there was some bottlenecks. Again, and the bottleneck was not at the end of the Pleistocene either. That bottleneck was it 500,000 years ago? Eddie voted Atlantis. At least Atlantis is getting some love. You find a lot of love for Lemuria among the Bad Science Sunday crowd because they. When did you all do that? It's been about a month ago, right? You all covered Mu and Lemuria.
According to Rudolf Steiner, quote, the greatest part of the Atlantean population declined, and from a small portion are descended the so-called Aryans, who comprise present-day civilized humanity.
Oh, from Species with Amnesia, Our Forgotten History by Rudolf Steiner. Let's see about that. Rudolf Steiner. Austrian occultist. Christian Gnosticism. Oh my goodness, what's he? There is no religion higher than truth. He was got swastikas on. Oh, theosophy. He was a theosophist. Okay. Early spiritual experiences. Yeah, this guy was like into channeling and stuff, right? That's what I thought. And he had some anthropological ick. Oh my goodness. Steiner's ideas and the Nazi Party. Steiner financed the publication of and wrote I don't know what this is, partly on his own basis. The publication comprised a conspiracy theory according to which World War I was a consequence of a collusion of the Freemasons and Jews, their purpose being the destruction of Germany. The writing was later enthusiastically received by the Nazi Party. Dick Tavern claimed that Steiner was a Nazi. Another scholar notes that Steiner was an influence behind Italian fascism. So that's who you want to quote, Robert, right? Toward the end of Steiner's life and after his death, there were massive defamatory press attacks mounted on him by early Nazi leaders, including Adolf Hitler and other right-wing nationalists. These criticized Steiner's thoughts on anthropology as being incompatible with Nazi racial ideology. So there's being influenced by his close connection Jews, and even falsely that he himself was Jewish. Anthroposophy was not characterized by the... Yeah, so anyway, this guy's trash. I think we can pretty much run with that. Influenced Italian fascism. I mean, nothing...
In his 1896 book called The Swastika, the earliest known symbol and its migrations, Thomas Wilson curator of the Department of Prehistoric Anthropology in the U.S. National Museum, wrote, quote, "An Aryan symbol used by the Aryan peoples before their dispersion through Asia and Europe. This is a fair subject for inquiry and might serve as an explanation how, as a sacred symbol, the swastika might have been carried to the different people and countries in which we now find it by the splitting up of the Aryan peoples and their migrations and establishment in the various parts of Europe."
So, following iconography, you can trace a culture's influence and again trade routes, but this idea that because someone carries on a symbol from a previous group that they interacted with or even intermingled with does not in any way incorporate any other aspects of that culture or society other than they incorporated that symbol as something universally known between the groups and what it represents.
In a book first published in 1887 called Bailey Britton, History and Genealogy, it says, quote, "The descendants of Shem are believed to be that ancient Aryan race which inhabited Central Asia east of the Caspian Sea."
But Shem's not a real person, right? So, in the 1960s, sure, there were still people that believed that that the biblical genealogies were like literal, right? There's actually people that believe that. That doesn't mean that they were real. Histories and genealogies, and you want to say that yes, there's actual descendants from fictional characters from mythology.
And north of the Hindu Kush Mountains, perhaps what is now Turkestan. They are also called Indo-Europeans and Indo-Germanic race. Conflating Germanic, Indo-European, or Aryan people with the offspring of Shem might sound contradictory at first, since Shem, or Sem, is a son of Noah, from where we get the term Semite from.
So, again, but these aren't real people, right? They weren't real.
Anthropologically speaking, Semitic is a language group, and while politically distinct, it's still considered part of the same Caucasian demographic, a term that comes from the Caucasus Mountains, where Mount Ararat is located. Noah was said to have 3 sons, Japheth, Shem, and Ham, representing the 3 continents that the descendants of Noah allegedly possessed after the flood. The word...
Yeah, but this is mythology, bro. And you're laying it over top of again, the idea of the biblical narrative of the origins of races and stuff only extends as far as the borders of that area. They didn't know about other things in other parts of the world. That's why you don't read about fucking kangaroos. That's why you don't read about the Aztecs in the fucking Bible, because they didn't know anything outside of their little circle. So to pretend that this mythology of this culture in this isolated region reflected a global understanding is nonsensical on its face.
Possessed implies that Noah's Caucasian offspring diffused agricultural civilization and governed.
Thank you for the super sticker, Eddie. Much love from the Hive. Let's see, we got some commentary too. I think you've made a good teacher in school. I get a little bit too passionate, I think I would get upset about some stuff, because around here anyway, you got to deal with a lot of children of white supremacists. Classic violin music is very colonizer, right? He's trying to paint a narrative. Romani people migrating through Europe and retaining Hindu tradition and symbolism that includes the swastika, which is symbolic of Kali, doesn't mean they are Indo-Germanic. Exactly. It's funny that, yeah, of all people, it's the Romani people that were carrying that symbolism and keeping that, what the idea of the notion of it meant, alive. and we aren't genetically related to Semitic groups, yeah, I'm going to claim I'm direct descendant from Maleficent. You can do that because biblical characters are real, so all literary characters can be real if you want them to. Why do you say that in the past tense, as if her life is over and she can't make a change? Well, I mean, I could still be a teacher. I'm kind of a teacher now. This is teaching a bit. There are some Gitano-Romani people that have Sephardic Jewish ancestry, but that's pretty small amount of people. Okay. I'm actually learning a bit more about the Romani's involvement in this, so thank you for that. That's very interesting in the adaptation. I knew the symbolism of the swastika was it was prevalent in the sub-Indian continent and as part of the Hindu cultures that thrived there. And when people from the Middle East and Europe traded with them, that symbolism was carried across the trade routes, right? The Silk Road went right through this kingdom. So you were going to see Hindu symbolism on a lot of wares coming out of that part of the country, that part of the world. It's just how it would be. It was an industrial area. So much industry, especially in the early. He talks about the Holocene. The earliest industries we see in the Holocene were in India. The earliest traces that we see were in that subcontinent.
Over these three regions, which are represented by three different colors in this map, illustrating the world as people by the descendants of Noah, who was not a Jew, Muslim, or Christian, but ancestor of all three, stemming from the same Caucasian race. In the Bunting Clover map...
No, he was supposed to be the ancestor to all people everywhere, all humans, according to the narrative. You want to say all these white people are descendant from Noah? No, everybody has to be descendant from Noah. What do you glean from? How are you reading the biblical flood narrative and thinking that anybody survived besides this family of 8? Every single person. This has to be accounted for by these genealogies, not just white people.
Map drawn by a German pastor in 1581 and published in the travel book of Holy Scripture, we see again the world portrayed as a clover leaf divided into 3 by color, representing the 3 offspring of Noah, with Jerusalem in the center of the map, surrounded by...
Most Romani were forced to convert to Christianity and didn't intermarry with the Jewish population often, and even then that's only in Iberia. Okay, so only in the far west. Aunt Jur, I was trying to be rude or anything. Oh no, I didn't think you were being rude. Aunt Jur just wants me to have prospects for the future, and maybe that is a prospect for the future. I usually do for my career. I do teach classes and stuff, but it's not about this kind of stuff. It's about pharmaceuticals, which are boring, and I don't like talking about in my free time. Supposedly, the swastika goes back to Canaanite culture as well, but I haven't traced the accuracy of that statement myself, says Orion. That's where a lot of this trash comes from. Himmler thought Romani people were pure Aryans, and Hitler said, no, gas us. Gypsies were, I hate saying that word, sorry, were interred in camps, but more often used as labor prior to Hitler, denying Himmler's request not to kill us off, so we got gassed more frequently. That sucks. That's terrible. When I was a kid, the house across the street had a swastika built into the outside brickwork. It's gone now, of course. That's bizarre. Was it a Hindi swastika, or do you think it was actually like a German Worker Party swastika? Well, if you think only white people are human, yeah, I mean that's the bottom line here, right? Because as Maya pointed out in one of her recent rants, that Robert Steffer actually thinks that humans are different species, because he thinks that white people are descended from aquatic apes, whereas black people just are from tree apes. It's really gross. All right.
The three continents. The fact that Jerusalem is the focal point in the center speaks to its strategic location, giving access to Europe, Africa, and Asia, which was not only exploited by the ancient Caucasians or Aryans of the Holocene, but according to this map, illustrating the genetic marker of haplogroup X, which is primarily seen in demographics that share genetic affinities with Caucasians during antediluvian times, when Atlantis allegedly existed, is most pronounced in the territory that was once known as Phoenicia, and today is called Israel, where Jerusalem is located, as well as Anatolia or Turkey, where Mount Ararat is located in the Caucasus Mountains.
I had something on this haplogroup X situation. Let me pull it back up. I closed it when I was going through my kangaroo stuff. Where is haplogroup X? Okay, so yeah, haplogroup X. Here we go, abstract. On the basis of comprehensive RFLP analysis, it has been inferred that approximately 97% of Native American mitochondrial DNA belongs to one of four major groups of mitochondrial DNA lineages, designated haplogroup A through D. It has been proposed that a fifth mitochondrial DNA haplogroup X, represents a minor founding lineage in Native Americans. Unlike haplogroup A through D, haplogroup X is also found at low frequency in modern European populations. To investigate the origins, diversity, and continental relationship of this haplogroup, we performed mitochondrial DNA high resolution RFLP and complete control region sequence analysis of 22 putative Native American haplogroup X and 14 putative European haplogroup X mitochondrial DNAs. The result identified consensus haplogroup X motif that characterized our European and Native American samples. Among the Native American and haplogroup X appear to be essentially restricted to the Northern Amerindian group, including the Ojibwa, the Nuchanut, the Sioux, and the Yakima. Although we also observe this haplogroup in the Dene-speaking Navajo, which is where a lot of the folklore that I cover about North American groups comes from. The Dene had a rich oral history. Median network analysis indicate that European and Native American haplogroup X mitochondrial DNA, although distinct, nevertheless are distantly related to each other. Time estimated for the arrival of X in North America are 12,000 to 36,000 years ago, depending on the numbers assumed. The founder assumed. So basically, this fits perfectly with the last waves of migration from Europe across the Bering Straits into northern. Let me reel it back. Into across the Bering Strait, that there was a group that intermingled in this frosty little area here in the late Pleistocene that migrated across the Bering Land Bridge and brought with them similar DNA or same DNA as this group here, and they were in Arctic. And it's nice how he cuts off all of the north here, because let me see if I can find a better map here. Does this have a map with it? The paper I'm reading doesn't have a map with it, but let me see. Let me find a. That's the one I wanted. Okay. Boop, boop, boom. Here we go. I have to hold on. I have to minimize this, and There we go. So here's the distribution and the migration pattern. All documented and understood quite well. In how they relate within the populations. So no, Robert Seffer, wrong again, as always.
It's known as Phoenicia, and today is called Israel, where Jerusalem is located, as well as Anatolia or Turkey, where Mount Ararat is located in the Caucasus Mountains. In this context, Zionism and the symbolic rebuilding of the Third Temple in Jerusalem represents the re-establishment of an ancient colony that once ruled over the world, governed by a Caucasian population that seems to be in a state of collective amnesia about its fabled Atlantean Aryan origins. Of course.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me catch up with the chat here because there was a lot said right there, and you see who's coming up on the screen. So I do have to catch up because we're about to shift gears. Because now we're getting into the divine right thing. There are only a few ways to abstract out wheel symbolism. Yeah, spiral is a spiral or circle or concentric circles or some combination of the two. I was watching Dead Domain last night, and they Dead Domain's they them. They were covering this person saying Spider-Man 2, the video game, was satanic and using the symbiote symbol, which is the spiral. That's the symbol of the symbiote race or whatever in the alien race in the Marvel universe, saying that was like the all-seeing eye and all kinds of nonsense. Yeah. So they're just the idea of a spiral or concentric circles or an eye or anything like that. Boom. They're going to link it all together. Swastika goes right in there with it. Swastika is just it's a spiral with right angles. Let's see, Ryan, I do wonder if there is some level of connection very far back. The symbol that represents Shiv was a Star of David in it. I've always wondered if it was borrowed from Hinduism. There was definitely trade between Hindi cultures in the Near East. I don't know how far back that it goes, but India had a huge industry of pottery, metalwork, and fineries like cloth and spices. India was the frickin' golden empire. India was Rome before Rome could have even a twinkle in the European eye, right? India was for the longest time was the population center of the human race, where we were making the most advances for a long, long time, and it doesn't get enough credit. The climate was perfect for it, for humans to flourish, and we certainly did. I didn't know how I broke out of how I was raised. I'm sure glad I did. Yeah, I was raised with books about mighty whitey leading brown people out of the Dark Ages too. I was raised by that, with books that made that claim. It was very popular at that time, especially if you were even tangentially interested in alternative history stuff. I mean, like I am. I like researching conspiracy theories and cryptozoology and alternative archaeology and nonsense like this. Let's see here. It was whites only. It was a whites only neighborhood. Judges white. Oh, in that neighborhood you were talking that the swastika was. Okay, my nose itches. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how. Ew, Arcs. I was thinking maybe it was a Hindu fam and they didn't understand that cultural context in the West. That's what I thought too. Maybe it was like a family that built it didn't know what was going on. I have to work Sunday. Would be too tired, but I can try to pop in. I don't know. Okay, where are we? LOL. Meanwhile, Cheddar Man, right? My dad was only second generation American from Germany. Yeah, that's my upbringing. One day it hit me. All of it was bullshit. Yeah, we had all the gross books about. My family's Irish, but we had those too. Oh, my grandmother was a quarter Yakima, says Ring. So you're part Atlantean then. My mother is half German and half English. Thank goodness my bio dad was Gitano. I think I said that right. Let me know if I said it wrong. Sadly, my brother still has clan artifacts hanging in his home. That's creepy. Though I was born in the UK, both of my parents were Polish. I am a wasp, so happy in the hive. Yeah, says Stephanie. I also Irish, British, Scottish, and Indian. Well, quarter Irish and quarter English. The Irish part of my mother's family, embarrassingly, DeWines. Oh no. My stepdad is Polish. Pretty similar foods, Germany and Tyrol. What else we got here? Good morning, look at the trees. I'm Cherokee Indian, just to verify. Okay, says Eddie. More the period when Buddhism was prominent, right? I forgot. My brain is permanent fog, but I wonder if things spread via Buddhism spreading since Hinduism spread more east than west. No idea, but it's possible. I was reading some grotesque stuff in a book about the early history of Lynn, Massachusetts yesterday. I think that's Massachusetts. Christ, talking about indigenous people like they're not part of the human race. Genealogy will put you into some foul moods sometimes. Yeah, anybody who wants to be racist about it, I want them to go get one of those 23andMe tests done. If you want to be racist, you first prove your purity, because none of us are. The human species is a melting pot.
Of course, 9 out of 10 Zionists today are not Jewish, and a millennia ago, the attempt to reconquer Jerusalem during the Crusades was initiated by the Knights Templar, who were outwardly a military order of the Catholic faith. That said, the Templars held esoteric beliefs that they descended from the temple priests of Jerusalem, and their ancestors entered Europe as waves of lost tribes after the sacking.
This is all conspiracy stuff about the Templars, too. There's really not too much truth to to anything you know about the Templars. Like, as far as they were the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Templar of Solomon. Mainly known as the Knights Templar, was a military order of the Catholic faith and one of the wealthiest and most popular military order. But today they're known for all the conspiracy theories wrapped up in them, including the satanic Baphomet worship and all this stuff. They were literally Christian knights the Crusades was gross in general, but
King of the temple for which they are named after. Rex Deus, which means God Kings in Latin, are a group of European aristocratic families that claim ancestry from the bloodlines of the priests of Jerusalem.
Rex Deus are a bloodline that trace their origins back to the 24 high priests of the Temple of Jerusalem, which includes the family of Jesus. And according to Holy Mother the Church, and who are we to doubt their word, Jesus was...
So can I clarify, and I can't make this any more straightforward, bloodlines are not passed down and through being part of a secret society or an organization. If you it's the same thing. They just lump it all together. Language, culture, apparently being members of an organization is a bloodline now.
Single and had no children. But in actual fact, like all Jews of his time, he was obliged by Jewish custom and tradition to marry and procreate. He was doubly empowered to do this because he was also a rabbi and the heir to the throne of the line of David, so he had to produce an heir. And one of the most closely guarded secrets in European history is the fact that he founded a bloodline known as the Desposini, which are still extant in Europe today. When I go to England, I stay with one member of it, and when I go to Nice, I have breakfast with another. And descendants of Jesus are all around you, and many of the people who are true descendants of Jesus of Nazareth.
Descendants of Jesus. So we are deep into the weeds here with this fella. What was his name? Did it tell us his name? It did. It's what, 1245. Tim Wallace Murphy. Is he a conspiracy theorist? Tim Wallace Murphy. The Mark of the Beast. Custodian of Truth. Is he a white supremacist, though? That's what I want to know. It seems like Sefer only cites white supremacist. Why is this coming up? Sorry, I should have had this all pulled up earlier. Anyway, yeah.
Don't even know it. Well, I just used a term which is inaccurate, Jesus of Nazareth. The problem is Nazareth didn't exist at the time of Jesus. He was Jesus the Nazarene. He was a member of an esoteric cult attached to the Essene order, an initiatory form of spirituality which is still being practiced in secret today. And the Rex Deus families outwardly practice the religion of their place and time, but secretly amongst themselves follow their own path. They trace the influence of these families on the development of European culture, and that influence was quite profound, particularly in spiritual matters. They were the families responsible for the founding of the military order of the Knights Templar, and after that was suppressed, several centuries later, they played a seminal role in the foundation of the worldwide fraternity of Freemasonry, which is still running and still extant today. So their influence is all-pervasive. They were still practicing a form of initiatory Judaism which traced its roots back long before the time of Jesus, and its original origins come from Egypt.
You're gonna have a hard time selling me that there's people who are just like legit, like documented descendants of Jesus. I'm just not gonna take that at face value. That there may be oral tradition in their family that they were once a member of some order, sure, but even those claims are not genetic, right? There's no actual bloodline that runs down through these groups of people. Just because they're members of the same, because one of your ancestors was a member of some knight, even if it was true that your ancestor was one of the Knights of the Templar, it does not mean that you were descendant from Jesus, right? That's not what any of this says. None of these groups.
Story deserves to be told, and it's a story which is riveting, because these people acquired power in Europe very, very early on at the time of Charlemagne and are still in positions of power today. And there is a chivalric order which is still running, called the Order of the Fleur de Lis. Membership is by invitation, but to hold office within that order you have to be a member of one of the families of the Rex Deus group. And they cover some very, very powerful people. What their agenda is today, I haven't the faintest idea. But they're still about, and they're still exerting massive influence behind the scenes, all very quietly.
Yeah. So big conspiracy, the secret cabal underneath everything, a secret powerful group of Aryans that have control over ancient kingdoms and all this nonsense. It's who are the favored race and meant to rule us as our mighty white lords.
And I, for one, would love to know what their agenda is.
Winning is tough. I always said winning is somewhat maybe innate. Maybe it's just something you have. You have the winning gene. My father is German, right? Was German. My uncle was a great professor and scientist and engineer, Dr. John Trump at MIT. Good genes, very good genes, okay? One of the smartest people in the history of MIT, in my blood. If you believe in genes, some do, some don't. Believe me, if it's good genes, we believe in genes, right? We're allowed to say it. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? Do we believe in the gene thing? I mean, I do, right? I do. When you have 111 wins, that's in your blood, right? It's got to be in the blood. It's good genes.
Doesn't this remind you guys of how Hoven's always like, oh, I'm German, that was the favored race. He thinks the same nonsense.
You have good genes. Good genes. You believe in genes? He's got good genes. These are great women, great men. Frankly, great genes. You have great genes. You have very good genes. Just remember the president. You have great genes. Those genes. Those two young men have the greatest genes anyone's ever had. The best genes I've ever seen. A man named Henry Ford. Good bloodlines. Good bloodlines. If you believe in that stuff, you got good blood. We have good stuff. We have great genes in this room. We have smart people. A man with really...
If your genes are so great, why do you paint yourself orange? If you're so proud to be white, why do you paint yourself orange? If you're so proud of your white, blonde hair, blue-eyed does Trump have blue eyes? I don't even know. Imagery, then why do you try to make yourself look as not white as possible? It's strange.
Fantastic genes. Gotta have like the best genes in the world. Although you had an ex-governor here that had very good genes too. We have his son in the audience too. You have good genes, you know that, right? You have good genes. Good genes, you have good genes. It's in the genes, it's in the blood, right? It's in the blood.
Would you like to have a 3,000-year bloodline?
I think it would be great. I don't know what I'd be doing for the rest of the time, but I think it would be great. You know, I'm proud to have that German blood. There's no question about it. Great stuff.
Not only do the royal families of Europe come from the same bloodline, many world...
Trump's uncle would hate him. Yeah, he was like a reasonable scientist with good, they did good work, right? Trump's uncle that he talks about.
leaders, such as Donald Trump, share genetic affinities with the ancestors of the Knights Templar that, according to esoteric Germanic societies, like the Thule and Vril Society, not to mention the Rosicrucians and Freemasons, all trace their lineage back before the advent of the Abrahamic faiths, all the way to the Aryan Magi of Mesopotamia, and before that to the pre-biblical time of Atlantis. That said, the legendary antediluvian empires were not homogeneous, and the ancient struggle for global supremacy is still being played out today, with one demographic represented
Did you see that? Zionism versus Bolshevism?
by a nationalist sect that wants to maintain its genetic and cultural identity, and another sect that wants to replace the traditional power structures based on noble bloodlines with a...
Yeah. Did anybody have George Soros on their card? Or yeah. So, all right. So here's the theory, right? That there are two vying secret cabals that are vying to control civilization. Obviously, there's the noble white folks that have the divine right handed down from Noah through noble bloodlines, on down to such nobility as Donald Trump and King Charles, maybe some nonsense like that. And then there's the evil Jewish cabal that's trying to overthrow it, and send the world into chaos, because those people are supposed to rule us. And obviously George Soros being the financial backer for some reason. If you weren't keeping up.
mixed, borderless population of secular, atheist, genderless, Marxist ideology under the thumb of a global Bolshevik communist dictatorship. My name is Robert Sepper. I'm an anthropologist. My published work is available on Amazon and through all other major book outlets. If you'd like to support my work, you can do that through patreon.com.
Does anybody like watching you stare at the ocean while you do your videos, Robert? I don't think they do. I think most people would like to see you like punch yourself or something while you're making these videos. Or maybe if you like put one of those shocker things on your nipples, like in that movie, and then every time you tell a lie, Saving Silverman, yeah, like in that movie, and every time you tell a lie will shock you. Let's do that instead of looking at the beach thing. That'd be fun. Holy shit, yeah. So, did you all see that coming? That curveball? That's what made me decide that I had to cover this. That all of a sudden that we are going to be thrown a implication that Donald Trump has the divine right to rule us, as handed down from Noah. Holy shit. Anyway, that was Sci Fails. Maybe the best one I've done in a long time. Really feel like I cracked something open here and exposed the disgusting truth behind it, which is always nice. I mean, every now and then it's, I like to do the silly videos where someone's wrong about dinosaurs and how they acted or behaved, or someone's wrong about bugs or any other kind of animal. But every now and then I have to dip into some other bad science, like the idea that bloodlines are passed down through being part of a secret society, or that Atlantean bloodlines flow through white people. This shit is too far gone. How is this person an academic? All right, so that was Sci Fails. I am going to I got a couple. There's not going to be a Breeze Bestiary this morning, but I do have a. I do have a Paleo Peak that I'm going to do. So I'll see you guys. I will see you guys over there. Yes, definitely remain seated. Remain seated because we got more show to come. Couple more things. So I'm going to try to get this wrapped up. I'm going to drop Maya's the link to Maya's thing over here, and we're going to raid when this is over. Okay. So remember. Remember to raid. Okay, so welcome to an episode of Paleo Peak where we are going to look at some awesome new discoveries that might be a little bit insect adjacent. And my nose, I swear to God, my nose will not stop itching. Somebody talking about me maybe? All right, here we go. All right, so new evidence that insects may have evolved from, or insect wings may have evolved from gills. Yes, insect wings evolved from gills. Habitus thoracic abdominal outgrowths of larvae of Paleodictera and Carbotriptulurida. All right, and that's what we're looking at here. How did insects' wings originate? This is a question that represents an unsolved mystery of insect evolution. Despite many years of research, it is still not entirely clear from which body structure insect wings actually evolved and what their original function was when they were not yet efficient enough to perform active flight. Scientists from the Biology Center of Czech Academy of Science were also involved in looking for answers to these questions in a newly discovered prehistoric fossil of the ancient group of insects. There are various hypotheses regarding the origin of insect wings. To some extent, they depend on the fact whether the common ancestor of winged insects lived in an aquatic or terrestrial environment. While several studies connect the origin of wings with the gills from some representative of aquatic insects, the support of terrestrial origin of insect wings is currently more prevalent. New evidence is provided by an international team of researchers with participation of entomologists from the Biology Center in a study just published in the journal Communication Biology. Czech scientists, together with German colleagues, found in a quarry in Lower Saxony new Paleozoic fossils of the larva of an ancient group of insects named Paleodictera from the Carboniferous period, extinct at the end of the Paleozoic. With the body structure, these larvae resemble a hypothetical winged insect ancestor and thus provide new clues to resolve the evolutionary mystery. In the fossils, scientists have discovered several adaptations for life in an aquatic environment, most notably several pairs of flattened projections on the side abdomen that probably functioned as gills. In the larva, they also observe 3 pairs of future wings on the thorax, the detailed structures of which is very similar to the aforementioned gill plates on the abdomen. It can therefore be assumed that these so-called wing pads also participated in the intake of oxygen from the aquatic environment. Although our fossils certainly do not represent the ancestor of winged insects, they are larvae, and the adult of the group already had fully functional wings. It is still a relatively ancient group of insects. Given the fact that the larvae of other ancient insect taxa, such as mayflies and dragonflies, are also aquatic, it supports the possibility that the aquatic environment played an important role in the very beginning of the evolution of insect wings, suggests Pavel Sroka from the Institute of Entomology, BC, CAS. The first form of flattened projections on the thorax, which gave rise to the lateral wings, could thus have arisen as organs for breathing, functionally similar to what we see in the wing pads of our fossil, says Pavel Sroka. All right, so that was a little bit of Paleo Peak, where we discuss new discovery of insect fossils. Give some insight to the evolution of the wing of insects in the fossil record, which has been kind of scant up until now. So this is quite a breakthrough. I got one more little piece of information for you for our strange science for today. I'm going to pop right over to that now. So I thought this was super interesting. This is from science.org. I'm only going to read the abstract on this. There's a whole paper on it, and we'll look at some of the stuff. But because human same-sex sexual behavior is heritable and leads to fewer offspring, how same-sex or SSB associated alleles have persisted and whether they will remain in the human population are of interest. Using UK Biobank, we address these questions separately. For bisexual behavior, BSB, and exclusive SSB, same-sex behavior, after confirming their genetic distinction, we discovered that male BSB is genetically positively correlated with the number of offspring. This unexpected phenomenon is attributable to the horizontal pleiotropy of male risk-taking behavior. Associated allele because male risk-taking behavior is genetically positively correlated with both BSB and the number of offspring, and because genetically controlled male risk-taking behavior abolishes the genetic correlation between male BSB and the number of offspring. By contrasting, SSB is genetically negatively correlated with the number of offspring. Our results suggest that male bisexual behavior associated alleles are likely reproductively advantageous, which may explain their past persistence and predict the future maintenance, and that SSB associated alleles are likely to be selected against at present. So the genes for bisexual behavior, or at least in males, is advantageous because they are intrinsically linked to the genes for risk-taking behavior. In other words, to trigger reproductive behavior. In other words, they bisexual people get it on more and have more babies. Same-sex behavior is not uncommon in animals and has been observed in mammals birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and vertebrates across human societies. 2 to 10% of individuals perform SSB. Human SSB is heritable, with a broad sense heritability of 30%. Using genome-wide association, GWAS, Ghana and et al., the rest of the team, discovered 5 genomic loci that are associated with SSB. Because SSB leads to fewer children, it has been a long-standing evolutionary puzzle why natural selection has not eliminated the genetic variant underlying SSB. Many hypotheses have been proposed to explain the genetic persistence of SSB because, for example, sexual antagonistic pleiotropy, kin selection, and overdominance. However, empirical evidence supports any of the hypothesis has been scanty until recently, specifically in support of antagonistic pleiotropy hypothesis. Detected a positive genetic correlation between same-sex behavior and the number of sexual partners among individuals who perform exclusive opposite-sex behaviors, OSB. That is, OSB individuals carrying SSB-associated alleles tend to have more sexual partners than OSB individuals not carrying such alleles. Because the number of sexual partners of an OSB individual positively predicts the number of children in pre-modern society, the above finding could, in principle, explain the genetic maintenance of SSB in the past. That is, although SSB alleles predispose an individual to SSB, which leads to fewer children, these alleles are associated with more sexual partners and thereby more children among OSB individuals. However, widespread contraception in modern societies decouples the number of children from the number of sexual partners and consequently terminates the above mechanism for the genetic maintenance of SSB. SSB is genetically negatively correlated with the number of children in the contemporary UK population, suggesting that at least in this population, SSB as a whole is no longer genetically maintained. Note that although the reproductive output of a person in modern society is influenced by many non-biological factors in addition to biological factors, the mean number of children of a genotype remains primarily determinant of the fitness and evolutionary fate of the genotype. To investigate the potential genetic maintenance of subtype SSB, here we separately examine bisexual behavior in exclusive SSB, ESSB, and it is debated whether sexual orientation is continuous or discrete. The existence of bisexuality was historically controversial because some considered self-reported bisexuals either homosexual or heterosexual, but recent evidence supports bisexuality as a sexual orientation class distinct from both homosexuality and heterosexuality. Further suggested genetic discontinuity of SSB stratified by the proportion of same-sex sexual partners. Furthermore, we investigated the sexual behaviors for the two sexes separately because because they were known disparities between male and female sexual orientation patterns. For instance, women are more likely to report a bisexual than an exclusively homosexual orientation, while men show the opposite. In addition, men's sexual orientation closely matches their sexual arousal patterns, while women do not. Analyzing the UK Biobank, which harbors that genotypic and phenotypic information from approximately 5 million British participants, we provided evidence that BSS and SSB are genetically non-identical, justifying separate analysis of these two traits. Our analysis suggests that male BSB as associated alleles are reproductively advantageous, whereas ESSB associated alleles are reproductively disadvantageous. The findings in this paper are meant to add to a better understanding of sexuality because they deal with specific sample groups. They may not be representative of a general pattern across populations with diverse cultural, social, economic, and political environments. So yeah, I've got the disclaimer there. Yeah. So there we have it. They found genetic markers to identify bisexual people, and they have found that it was historically advantageous because we're hornier. Yeah, interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed today's, you should just use the Holy Spirit board. Yeah, let's see, John says, been using a Ouija board as a cutting board. It kind of messed up. It keeps bringing the chicken back to life. Yeah, the Holy Spirit board, that's how we talk to Jesus. The Holy Spirit board. And I can confirm without, actually, I have eyewitnesses that this thing actually is real and works. We did talk to Jesus. It was very enlightening and life-changing. Anyway, yeah, please remember to be kind, take care, and we'll see you next time.
help.